What's up there, fella? See, I'm Richard, your son.
Hidden Wounds, I think, is the perfect title for this documentary, um, because it can describe so many different things. It can describe mental illness. It can describe the hidden work of caretakers and how they are often overlooked, um, and the difficulties that they face every day that just goes unseen and goes unacknowledged. And they put in so much work every single day, and we see that. So what I liked about this documentary, there was so many things, but I liked how we did, of course, get to see the struggles that impact these veterans, and in so many different ways. Like, we had one man with, I mean, I think they probably all had post-traumatic stress disorder in some way or another, but also a traumatic brain injury, also exposure to toxic chemicals that resulted in basically full body cancer. Um, we had the older gentleman with Alzheimer's, and we saw how that affected his mind and his body, and the decline that happened. But then we also got to see from the people who were taking care of them, the son taking care of his father. That was incredible. The fact that he would travel 10 hours across the country to go take care of his father for what, a day or two, and then fly back, go to work, and do it all over again 3 times a month is, I don't it's hard to conceptualize like how he was able to do that. But I think it's one of those, like, you got to do what you got to do for family. And I think that, the people that are watching him on TV as a news anchor have no idea what he's going through. He shows up every day, chipper, ready to go. Um, yeah, and I think that if that doesn't show you, like, you never know what people are dealing with, I don't know what does. Um, Kim, the woman who had cancer, she was so inspiring, and I really love that she built a platform to support other people and other women who might be in a similar situation. And she spoke her truth, and she was inspiring to thousands, tens of thousands, maybe millions of people. And after her death, we saw that a motion was put in pass to make sure that women get mammograms, if they're working in toxic sites. So her work continues even after she's gone. And I think that there is, we put these young people, boys, girls, into combat at such a young age, and the things that you have to see and do, it's too much for a brain that is absolutely still developing. And then we send them home to kind of just fend for themselves, and without the proper support. And yeah, the families and friends are the ones that kind of are left to carry that burden. And it's really, really sad. It's really, really sad. And I appreciate this film for talking about these issues, for highlighting the caretakers and all of the work that goes in behind the scenes, especially when there's kids involved and there's families to upkeep. It affects everybody. It affects everybody. So this is really important, and I learned a lot. And um, I wish all the best for these families going forward, and all of the ones who weren't featured in this piece. Wonderful job.
Hi, these are my comments on Hidden Wounds. I thought it was a very powerful documentary, and I really enjoyed seeing the filmmaker be so vulnerable and so upfront and so clear about his own journey and his family's journey. I think that's the most powerful part of the documentary, is in talking about mental health and mental wellness. The documentarian and the crew insert themselves in a really powerful way by sharing their story so unabashedly with the audience. And so chronicling the journey of all three families was really impactful, but specifically Stephen, his father, and watching his slow deterioration of his mental facilities through Alzheimer's, and just the effect that it had on him and his sister and his mom, and just highlighting how mental wellness and like mental health doesn't just affect the people who are dealing with mental health issues, but it has a rippling effect throughout the entire family and everybody in that social network. I thought that was really powerful and really well demonstrated and explained throughout. I also really enjoyed having the two different perspectives from people involved in the military, and I thought that that was a really clear through line for the audience to see, okay, these are the different types of mental illnesses and mental wellness problems that veterans face, and looking at it from two very different perspectives. Somebody who's dealing with the psychological, like the PTSD fallout, whereas somebody who's dealing with clear physical as well as mental health issues. Like those things were really clearly highlighted, and tracking those things over time was again like very powerful. And I enjoyed the format in which we got to not only talk to the people who are dealing with these things like personally, but how the documentarians were very clear and very intentional about interviewing all members of the family, and getting a really holistic view and understanding of what it is to deal with really pervasive and strong mental illnesses. So I think it's a very powerful piece, a very necessary piece at this time, and I think it was very well made.
So for Hidden Wounds, wow, I thought that this was just absolutely incredible to watch. I thought the narratives and all the relationship dynamics were just, so organic and raw and beautiful to watch, but also obviously devastating to see how these illnesses were affecting these people and affecting, these families right up front from, that father-son dynamic. I thought was so, beautiful to watch, like, the journey that his son was willing to take every week to just take care of him and be there for him. And I love that, obviously these like terribly devastating elements of his disease were also juxtaposed with the kind of playful, lighthearted elements of his father, and we really got to see his, playful, personality and kind of spirit before, this disease really started to wear him down, which I thought, was so great to see kind of like his personality come out as well. I also really loved the honest way that this was able to delve into mental health and what it means to, be a caregiver, and just all the different stories and, perspectives they were able to capture in this project was just so, amazing and beautiful, and also just heartbreaking to watch. And I think what was most incredible and inspiring, for me to see in this film was just, how positive, these people who are dealing with these heartbreaking illnesses, for themselves and for their families are able to be. Just, how they're able to still, be positive and care for each other, and, trying to like help even the people with the illnesses, trying to like help their families through it, and just, just keep a smile on their face. I thought, it was just amazing and beautiful. And heartbreaking to watch. All in all, I thought the film was absolutely incredible. I loved it. I couldn't pause it for a second. So well done. Amazing job.
Hi, so this is my Hidden Wounds review. So I already enjoyed the subject matter and the topic discussed. I think that it was a really important thing to discuss mental health, and what I really enjoyed about this specific film, I think it's important when you deal with such serious issues to take personal approaches, and I think the director did very well to do that in telling the story with him and his father. I think the other parts of the documentary is that the other stories are well interwoven, and so I do enjoy the sort of participatory reflexive aspect of the film. I did enjoy the graphics as well. I think that was important, so well done.
This was sad, but shined a light on something that needs to be discussed with veterans and with Alzheimer's. It showed how much hidden wounds can really affect another person. It and not only the person who is suffering these wounds, but everybody around them. When it's a spouse taking care of someone who served in the military and they have good days and bad days, and know that at any time it could be something that takes their life. A man taking care of his father by flying back and forth through the country, taking time off his job once a month or every other week to care for his ailing parents, but his dad with Alzheimer's and later his mom. This documentary in particular, because of the man who made it, I wonder if it could be something he could pitch to his producers as an MSNBC special to show it nationwide. Of course, do good promotion within the network and all that to get it, because it's something that should be told and seen, because there are several people who are either a caregiver or suffering themselves with PTSD or cancer from war wounds, or even people who have parents with Alzheimer's. And it really shows the stress that each family member went through, along with showing the way that the people themselves who are suffering from Alzheimer's or cancer or PTSD, the day in and day out, how they live. It shines a light on something that's very important to talk about, but that not enough people do, which makes me wonder if the network Richard works for would be interested in a documentary like this, just to shine the light to a wider group of people.
If anyone is a true filmmaker, they've watched Andrew Stanton's Stance to make me care. This introductory scene makes me care. We see the son taking care of his father who has Alzheimer's, showing a picture of him repetitively, telling him that I am your son. As he gains a sense of consciousness, they have a loving moment. We see just the beginnings of the amount of work and kindness it takes to upholding these types of responsibilities. And I love the title card of the photos coming together as a brain. What does it mean to be a caregiver? They use footage from real time, including news clippings from news reports and images, to truly encapsulate their time and the conditions to support of why they ended up gaining these mental disorders. It's a pretty standard way for documentary storytelling. There's nothing out of the ordinary popping out. You get to see all of these different stories from all of these people, and it resonates with you. You hear the doctor describe Kate as if she's been dipped in cancer, and I thought that was just such a powerful description of very vivid, very dark. But it was a powerful way to grab the audience into making them care about the story and where we go from here. We get to see the impact that this has on the children and how these children deal with these situations. This documentary really pushes on the point that there are people who suffer after leaving the military, and it really makes you to begin to sit with the sacrifice these people make and see the relationship with them go on a day-to-day basis of their healing journey. And some of these people, like Kate's purpose in life was to help women adjust back into the real world. There's the moral injury, that this guy suffers, and he calculates how every decision, how death is on his hands. And it's a very strong message to the overall piece. Some people don't even begin to understand how the pandemic affected people, and throughout the story we've gained a way to care about these people, and an hour into the movie we bring it to this modern day present time look through, this man literally had to have a relationship with his father through a piece of glass. There's certainly a moment that you have where with each of these stories where tears come to your eyes. It's inevitable. The next kick, you find out that the father passes away. You find out that Kate passes away. There's a lot of loss and grieving, but we also, get to see them enjoy the moment rather than having that breaking point. They really do cherish each moment like it's its last. They're trying to admit advocacy for this type of treatment more. We see that these people who have carried so much shame, really come to terms with a lot of things. It's a beautiful story, and what a way to end this story with this such a historical monumental moment with Kate, and having this act signed because of her, and having her son there next to Joe Biden as he signs this into act, I think is a great way to honor her. But yeah.
All right, I just finished watching Hidden Wounds, which I thought was an incredibly powerful and emotive piece about physical and mental health, and not just the people that suffer from it, but from the family members and the loved ones around them that have to also deal with it. I thought this piece was so powerful because it really reflected a sort of societal failure, systemic failure in terms of how we deal with these issues, and how we tend to deal with mental health in particular, pushing it away and wanting to hide people away and not wanting to deal with it. I thought Richard Lui, who I recognize from MSNBC, was a really great centerpiece anchor for the entire piece, because it showed how much you have to do, how much you have to rearrange your life to help the people that you love, and how that dynamic is not necessarily woven into society's general consciousness of how to deal with people, how to deal with pain, how to deal with trauma. I thought the pieces with the veterans in particular really reflected a sort of the systemic failures that go on with the VA sort of not knowing how to take care of the most vulnerable of our citizens, and sort of reflecting the general sort of healthcare crisis and sort of empathy crisis. I think the documentary tried to establish in terms of having a stronger sense of suffering, the loneliness that comes with these dynamics, the price tag, how expensive it is, both in terms of time and money, and just sort of the general emotional toll that these type of dynamics take. And I felt like it was really able to show not just the dark aspects, but sort of a hopeful and a loving aspect of trying to create bonds and sort of maintain intimacy and closeness. And I felt like the way the documentary was shot was very raw and very direct in that approach, and it really helped make the piece very impactful. So I think overall I thought it was an incredibly well done piece, both educational and emotional, and I think that's why I ended up enjoying it so much.